All right, what's up, everyone? It's Zach, and I'm here with a very special guest. I am here with Ashlyn Zwemmer. Ashlyn, how are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. How are you, Zach?
Awesome, glad to hear. I'm doing really well. Thanks for asking, and thanks for taking some time to chat today.
Of course. I'm excited.
Awesome. So, Ashlyn, like me, is a fellow Chippewa. So, fire up, Chips. That is
Uh,
where we actually met many years ago, but it was a good time there. And
don't say the
Ashlyn,
year. Age
yeah,
us.
exactly. I won't age us, but that's where we met. And Ashton's a fellow Chippewa. She also is someone who has extensive experience in the retail industry as well. And now she's currently a entrepreneur, business owner with the Simply A to Z boutique. So that's a little bit about Ashlyn. But do you kind of mind going into your background, what you're doing these days, all that good stuff?
Yeah, for sure. So, like Zach said, we met at CMU, which is where everything started for me. I guess when I was a kid, I guess before CMU, I had this dream, but you never really know time and place is kind of always the thing in life. So I always wanted to have a boutique. I knew that from the day I was probably 8 years old, just because I loved to shop. I loved to be around clothes.
Yeah.
You always have those dreams as a kid,
Hmm.
when they're going to become reality or if they're going to become reality. So I went to school at CMU for fashion merchandising and I minored in retailing, not really knowing exactly what I was going to do with that. But in my head, I'm like, this is going to work. We're going to do it. And then I graduated and I got the job at Kohl's department store as a manager, assistant manager in charge of soft lines, which is all of the apparel
Yeah.
for. And that was really great. That's where I met Zach a little more because of he worked at Kohl's as well.
Yep.
And so all the fun we had together. But I was
Life
there
at
for
Kohl's. Hashtag life at Kohl's.
hashtag life at Kohl's. Oh my gosh. I don't want to ever say
Right?
it. I did the first year in soft lines, which was all like merchandising apparel. And then I got promoted to hard lines operations manager, which is all of like the home children's. And then you are also in charge of all of the back house. So all of the receiving trucks, all of the shipping, omni-channel, merchandising, things like that. So that was a huge like wake up call to me. Holy cow, this
Yeah.
is taking over. We would just grow and grow and grow. I was only in it for a year and a half in that responsibility, and it was extremely challenging, but also taught me so much about the omni sector that is now everywhere, right? We all
Right.
shop on everywhere way more than we shop in store, which is crazy to see how quickly that took off.
Hmm.
Um, so then got engaged, and my husband is a dairy farmer. I wear my farmer shirt today. But we're so different, right? Fashion and
Yeah.
farming, opposite sides. So then we got engaged, and obviously the farm was not moving, which is great because our family is from the same area where the farm is. So
Hmm.
I need to move back home. Still kind of unsure what I'm doing at this point in my life. So move back and I get a job at HR in a manufacturing plant, something
Okay.
I know absolutely nothing about from the start, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, Manager experience kind of teaches you HR and then kind
Hmm.
of learned as I went, did that for a couple of years. And then as of last November, so November 27th, 2021, we opened A to Z Boutique and just hit the ground running. It's been going fantastic. I
Yeah.
did not think I would leave my job as soon as I did, and I have left my full-time job April 1st, which is I thought I'd be there at least 3 years plus while having the boutique open, but it has just
Yeah.
taken off, which is super exciting. So now I'm doing that full, I guess, part-time, full-time, and then I am
Hmm.
working farm. Funny story how it full circle back.
Yeah.
And I'm doing HR stuff for the farm. So it all kind
Okay.
of circled back, which is really funny.
Yeah. That is like full circle moment, and
Mhm.
that's really awesome. And I mean, pretty much from the first time that we met, I knew that you had that passion for retail and for, shopping and clothing and everything. So it totally lines up to me hearing you say that like growing up, that was always your dream to have a boutique and everything. And just, you know, following kind of your path from a distance, even, through social media and, catching
Mhm.
up here and there. It's been so cool to see you kind of grow into pretty much what you said you've always wanted as a kid, and just seeing this, kind of come full circle completely has been cool to see.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been fun. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
So, it. it sounds like it's been fun. It's been a good opportunity, been a good experience, but what's been something difficult about it, or something that maybe you didn't really anticipate would be part of actually having a boutique one day?
Oh gosh, I just don't think I realized how much work it was.
Yeah.
Because I think you have this vision, right? You have this vision of you've seen other people do it, but you see their
Hmm.
glorious version. You don't see like the grit and the sweat that goes in behind the scenes, the not fun things that no one really wants to do, but
Yeah.
has to. Um, I just think all of the hours and the time, the details as far as making sure my clothes are steamed, making sure my packages are correct, making, just
Hmm.
little the customer would never notice. I mean, maybe they would notice if the clothes were really wrinkly,
Right.
but things that maybe wouldn't be seen, but if they're not done, things don't run as smoothly. So all of the back end of owning your own business, starting a business, learning how to create, even with the state, how to start a business, registering, all of that
Yeah.
stuff that you think would be a challenge. And it's just kind of makes you scratch your head of like, oh my gosh, I really have no idea what I'm doing.
Right.
Then you have to just, walk yourself through it. And obviously everyone else has figured out how to do it, but it just takes more time
Yeah.
and research, asking the question to others that went before you of, hey, how did you do this? Because I am
Hmm.
lost. Not being afraid to ask questions. That's something that was a little difficult at first,
Yeah.
because you don't want to, like, you are not knowing, but also you really just don't know.
Yeah.
So that's the most difficult thing and has been so far.
Okay. Definitely. And I think it's interesting kind of hearing you say, talk about the challenges a little bit, because I think that with anything, there's always kind of those things that seem daunting. And I feel like it's so easy for us to get like in our own head and never start anything or start what we want or do what we want because of all those challenges. And
Oh,
it sounds like you're kind of just like into the deep end. Like we'll learn and see what happens.
yes. It was kind of a once I announced the business, okay, I guess we're actually going to do it.
Yeah. And I feel like that's kind of what it is sometimes. Like you have to almost like make yourself uncomfortable by like putting that pressure on yourself of like, hey everyone, this is the thing. And then you're like, okay, now I have to actually do it.
Yes, I've been living by the quote, if your dreams don't scare you, they aren't big enough. And I have
I
been
love
like
that.
had that plastered everywhere. I have been saying that to myself over and over again because you don't grow until you leave your comfort zone. I think that statement is so true. And you're
Yeah.
never go further if you stay where you're comfortable. And
Right.
as cliche as that saying is, it's so dang true because you never will go the extra step because you don't want to, you're scared of, like you said, the unknowns. You're scared of,
Mhm.
well, what if I mess up? Well, what if I don't know how to do this? What if it's a complete failure? Well, it could be, but you're never going to know if you just stay in where your happy, comfortable places. You kind of have to,
Right.
which is absolutely terrifying.
Exactly. And I mean, I know that going back to the Kohl's days, our experiences were different, and we're different stores, different positions, stuff like
Yeah.
that. But I would think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would think we both have similar experiences where like when you're put into that job, especially like at the age we were,
Yeah.
you don't really know what you're doing,
Oh,
and you
no.
fail a lot, and you ask a lot of dumb questions, and you ask a lot of good questions, but like honestly, as tough as that role and that job was for me, I feel like I've grown so much on like a personal and professional level since, because like it's really helped me with like anything I do now. I feel like I can go in having no idea what to do and figure it out, because like we were really forced to do that at Kohl's. I mean,
That's a great way to look at it too,
yeah,
because I mean, gosh, we started so young
yeah.
and we're in charge of these multi-million dollar stores
Hmm.
and make these decisions. And yeah, I was a big fake it till you make it in the Kohl's world
Yeah,
because you would never know half that stuff until you've done it. And
exactly.
but I like agree with you 100% that now I'm not afraid to ask anyone anything because I just want to know the right answers so then I
Exactly.
can go forward and do it. I don't care if I look dumb or stupid because I bet they probably had the same question when they started, or they might even have that same question and just were too scared to ask. I don't have time to wait around and be scared anymore. I just gotta get the answer.
Right. And I think that that's just like a part that comes with like that growth and development that we just kind of get as we mature and
Mm,
grow as individuals. And I think it's cool just to hear you know how much can change in kind of like such a little time, from
yeah.
perspectives and experience and just like that knowledge base.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. I love
Yeah.
growth. Growth is so to see people like you and I, like totally different people from our Kohl's
I
days.
know it's weird to think about, and I mean, I will go on the record to say that, big shout out to you for helping me develop in my Coles journey and just professional journey. I mean, for those of you without context listening, Ashlyn was definitely someone that I consulted with quite a bit about, like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, what would you do in this situation, or how do you handle this, or
I love
just
it.
kind of getting that feedback and like having that like system of peers that you can really trust and rely on, and like
Mm.
it's kind of like that safe space too, where like when we were in it together, like I knew I could ask you something that sounded really dumb and you would help or like provide me the insight, and I wouldn't feel as like intimidated to do so. So shout out to
Yeah.
you for that.
Hey, good to have somebody that is knows what you're talking about. You can bounce
Yeah.
ideas off. And yeah, like you said, it's a lot safer space than maybe
Mhm.
people that a lot longer than us.
Right, for sure. So, Ashlyn, with the boutique, I know that it's been something that, since you started, it's been growing and, it's taken off, and, you're seeing the growth and, the future kind of like plans for you with it. What would you say, like, at this point is like, do you have like a goal, or like do you have like I don't know, a year, 2 year, 5 year kind of plan that you're trying to follow with it, or just take it a day at a
Yeah.
time?
I am a goal setter. I am
Yeah.
someone just with my goals. I have like a goal for every second of every day.
Yeah.
I am that. I have like my right now, like within the 5 years, I don't have any like 1, 2, 3. I just have sales goals, and Kohl's, shout out to them. They made this way. They made me this way. I have like every month I want to sell this much. Every year I want to sell this much. And like, I'm like, oh my gosh, this all started from my experience. But
Yeah.
I do have a big picture goal of a 5 year goal where it is, I really want to have my own warehouse. I want to
Okay.
build from the ground up my own warehouse, and I would like to have a retail space within that. So then I would have a larger retail space as well, and everything would all be in one. Because my hope is in 5 years to be a lot larger online, so we can be
Hmm.
shipped more out of the warehouse portion, and then still have that in-store space. Because our local community here, we're very rural. Like it
Yeah.
is the thumb of Michigan, and there's nothing to shop. You have to drive about 2 hours to get to Detroit, or Saginaw is like an hour plus, and there's not that much options there even. So people locally are loving having us here. They're
Yeah.
loving being try things on, touch and feel the things without having to drive that 2 hours, especially with gas right now. It's super flexible for them to come whenever they need to. But also with that, I want to get into men's too. That's a big goal of mine
Okay.
is clothing. So in 5 years, I hope that I have a warehouse that has a retail space that sells men's. That's my goal.
I love it. Those are perfect goals. And that's, it's interesting that you say the, having a men's section, because, as someone like myself, like I've always liked fashion and clothes and stuff. And it's like I want to support you, but it's a little hard for me to do so personally. So definitely when you do have that, and I say when because I knowing you, I know you will accomplish that. Maybe it's before 5 years, maybe it's right at 5 years, maybe it's a little after 5 years. I know you will accomplish it though. I will be one of the first people to check it out. I will tell you that.
Thanks. I really hope so. I hope it happens because I think there's so many people like you know, that all my husband's friends, they're like, hey, are
Mhm.
you gonna get friends? Like, I'd really like to get something local too for men to shop, or even just
Yeah.
another, because there's not a ton of men's boutiques, right? When you hear
Right.
boutique, women's. So to have that option, I think will be really great too. And then you can kind of do all in one. Boyfriend,
Definitely.
girlfriend, husband, all shop together.
Exactly. Yeah. Just like at Kohl's.
Yeah. Look at Cole's following me everywhere.
Yep. Oh man. But no, you mentioned that kind of just like where you're at in your town. It's very rural, very kind of like small town. So it has been something that a lot of people in the community seem to really like, having that, store that they can go that's local nearby. Um, I'm sure supporting someone that they know, but also just like you said, they'd be able to see and touch and feel the clothing itself. Do you think that a lot of the growth and success that you've had really is attributed to being in kind of that small town? Or like, do you think that even if you're like in a bigger, more city area, that like things would still be kind of going the way that they have been?
Oh, I 100% think it's because of where I live.
Okay.
Um, we have a few boutiques locally. They're starting to pop up more. but a couple of them are online. A couple of them are maybe catered towards really young or really old. It doesn't matter. They're kind of a little more centered on one clientele and one target market. Whereas
Sure.
my goal A to Z is everyone, all the way A to Z, no matter what your style is. I want you, no matter the age, size, what your style is, that you can come in and like at least one piece of clothing. And that's kind of drawing in more and more people, because you could bring your mom and your little
Hmm.
sister, well, you guys could find something.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go to what your little sister likes or only your mom likes, the other person isn't going to like to shop there.
Right.
So it really helped. And people in a small town just love to support local. They love just seeing people go after their dreams. And
Yeah.
again, ton of options. So to be able to bring something like this to our community, I mean, it's huge. If I did not have my storefront, I would not be anywhere where I like am right now with my goals. It's 100% I give it to the people locally right now.
Awesome. I love that. That's so cool. And I mean, I think that as I've gotten older, I've definitely started valuing the importance of like supporting local businesses and small businesses. I think that like growing up, I was like, oh, wherever I need to go to get whatever. But as I've gotten older, and I kind of see the importance of it. And, I'm lucky enough to have friends like yourself and other people who have small businesses, and even, me kind of with the podcast, you kind of
Yeah.
realize like any support that you can get. I mean, it can mean a lot and make a big difference. So that's really cool to hear that the community has been, backing you with it and everything.
Oh yeah. And I actually initially I was going to start my business in 2020
Okay,
and happened 2020, so I didn't start it, but I'm not even gonna say it out loud because we're not talking about it anymore.
sure.
And so I was only gonna do online though. So
Mm,
it's funny, I was talking to my husband just last week about this. If I would have only done online, yeah, I would have done okay. I mean, more people would have had to shop me online that maybe would have shopped locally, but I would never be where I'm at right now if I had not had my storefront. And it's just so funny of like the timing and how everything worked out,
yeah,
because I had no intentions of opening a storefront. I just thought, no, it's way too much work, way too hard. I don't want to do it. And then something clicked and I was like, maybe I should do a storefront. And holy
hmm
smoke, I'm sure glad I did, because it would not be booming like it is right now.
So that's interesting because, you've said that there's been a lot of success from having the storefront. And then we've kind of talked about how, just the online shopping, is just kind of what people are doing these days, right?
Mhm.
Like it just kind of blown up even back when we were directly like in the retail industry. Like from then to now, it's crazy how much it's exploded.
Yeah.
I mean, what I guess from your perspective, like what do you think, whether it's your personal like opinions and plans for the future or just like the industry for itself, like do you think like storefronts, brick and mortar is going to phase out eventually? Or like with kind of the success you're seeing, do you think like it might actually come back in at some point?
So my theory, and I've had this for a couple of years now, um, I think that brick and mortar big stores are going to go away. I think
Yeah,
we're the Kohl's really fizzle. I think we're going to see the J.C. Penney's, the Macy's. I think all of that is going to go to the wayside, and I think it's going to happen quicker than we think. I do, however, think that small businesses, small boutiques are here for the long haul, because how many people I hear now I only like to shop boutiques. Or I really just like to shop boutiques. They
hmm
love supporting someone small. They love supporting something unique. You go to a
yeah,
boutique, someone that shops at a boutique, you're getting a piece that no one else is going to have, because I'm only going to sell X number of them, and then I'm not going to restock them because I want
right.
my be something that not every single person has. And I just think it's kind of, who doesn't love that experience still of having a girls' day, going to get a coffee in the morning, going to the boutique, going to the farmer's market. There's so many, it's an aesthetic too. It's
Yeah,
something that people are creating Instagram worthy boutiques and photo shoots and things like that. And that's really what's trendy. And going to a Kohl's department store isn't really trendy anymore because it's a
right,
department store. But
right.
going to a boutique that has that aesthetic and that is just really trendy and cool, that's what's happening right now. And I've seen
Yeah.
that so strong because local boutiques are doing so well. When I go to towns, I want to check out the local boutiques,
Hmm.
nothing JC Penney's. Like I don't want to go to the mall. I want to go to boutique shopping. So I feel like that's where we're trending, which is so funny because online is huge,
Yeah.
but when it comes to having that local boutique in your town, it's still doing well.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make a lot of sense when you look at both sides, but I can see how it's happening.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a really, really interesting theory and one that I would I would tend to agree with. I mean, I think that the large brick and mortar is definitely kind of fizzling out. And I mean, and just a disclaimer, like there's no shade towards Kohl's or anything. I'm not like on this like hate path for them or anything, and I'm sure you're not either. But like even since leaving the company, I feel like in the last couple of years, I've seen some headlines and just information about Kohl's where it sounds like it might be kind of going downhill a little bit, or they're just struggling, and they're doing some innovative things. Like I walk into a local Kohl's here, and it looks so different than I remember like
Oh
my
yeah.
stores being. Like there's like Calvin Klein and like just different brands, and like I don't know. I mean, they're definitely trying new things, but I could definitely see like what you're saying with the kind of the large brick and mortar stores fizzling out. And with the boutiques, something that I didn't really think about that you mentioned was like kind of the limited quantity of
Mhm.
items and how it is kind of unique. And I think of just like, I don't know. I mean, to someone that might collect shoes or might collect like cards or whatever, I feel like there's always been that success of like limited drops of things. So like that like exclusivity of like, oh, at this boutique we have like one of this, or like we have three of this. Like it causes that buzz and really
Mhm.
gets people interested. And as you kind of mentioned, it's funny how although online shopping is really taken off because of technology, I feel like technology being social media is really what's driving kind of like you said, like the local and the boutiques, because it is like an aesthetic. Or you do see like Instagrams, and I'm not on TikTok, but I imagine on TikTok you see like, just
Yeah.
huge, names or influencers or people that are trying to influence that space really going to these kind of like boutique places and
Mhm.
kind of blowing them up.
Yeah, it's a it's working two different ways with
Yeah.
technology, making it accessible. And that's something else when someone actually comes into your store and they've shopped you before, they know how your stuff runs, they know how the clothes
Hmm.
fit, then they're more likely to shop with you online. But if they have the option, they're going to want to come see, touch, and feel everything too, and have that experience. And just like it's something to do, right?
Yeah.
It's and who has a and I can speak for girls that are listening to the podcast, maybe boys too, I don't know. But when I'm somewhere and someone's like, "Where'd you get that?" And I'm like, "Ooh, this little boutique." Like you feel like I
Yeah.
got this. It's just like fun to like tell people about all these cool finds you got and then show them the boutique. Like this is where I got it from, and then they start following the boutique. It's just I am a huge boutique fan, always have been, because I love
Right.
unique fashion. I love getting something that no one else has and I can add it to my closet and not be seeing every other person wearing the same thing. Because you want to be original with your fashion and your style. So I think that's a huge part of it for sure.
I love that. And I remember, I don't remember how long ago it was, but I remember, there was a time within the last few years where I would see you posting about like, here's some clothes that I just bought, and here's the different ways that you could style it up, style it down, dress it up, dress it down, whatever. And I thought that was so cool, and just like the kind of uniqueness that you can have with clothing. So I think that like, yeah, being able to get those like unique pieces, whether it's like a staple piece or just something, that is for certain occasions or events, I think it's really cool. And to be able to do that and know like, hey, like no one else in my town is gonna have like an outfit that looks like this. I think that is pretty cool, and it is cool to be able to like show people where you got it and stuff like that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot to mention that I had my fashion, because I think that's what you're talking about. I
Yeah,
had
yeah, yeah,
my Fashionista account. I made that right after I graduated school because I wanted to like stay in like the trendy fashion
yeah.
and kind of what's going on, and how boutiques, how people are styling things. And then I kind of did that to keep me focused on fashion, and I kind of grew an audience with that too, because a lot of people that followed my fashion accounts then went and followed my boutique account, because they
Hmm.
maybe liked how I was doing things or ideas I was suggesting, whatever it might be. And so then that kind of gave you that authenticity that like, hey, this is what I really am passionate about. And like, that's
Yeah,
why I'm starting this boutique. I'm not just doing this because, oh, I want to make some money. This is my passion and this is what I want to do. And I think that account really helps that, which was awesome, because I just started it because I wanted to do something, but I was like, oh my gosh, I
right.
can't be a blogger. This is way too much. But it was fun, and it was definitely a great segue into doing the boutique for a couple of years.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that that's a awesome kind of like story, and maybe like a lesson if you want to call it that to anyone listening. Of course, the podcast focuses on passions and doing what you're passionate about. And for Ashlyn, it was kind of like that was kind of like that bridge that has led you to where you're at now, which it's like you were still doing something you're passionate about, but kind of like in a different way and in a way that kind
Yeah.
of like bridge the gap and help you get to the place that you are at with the boutique.
And now it's like a fixer-upper account because we're like renovating our
Yeah.
sections were crazy. And I like started posting before and afters of the fixer-upper, and people are like, "Are you going to keep posting this?" And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this is what you want to see." So it's just now it's kind of fun space. So I can still post like when I go shopping at other boutiques and want to do
Mhm.
style things or whatever, I can post it up on there and still style things and have that little freedom fun too.
Yeah. And that's important too. Like, I mean, to have that fun. And I think a lot of people have said, just like in conversations that I've had, is like when you pursue your passion, especially for a career or as a means of making any sort of money, whether it's, you know, for your actual life or like supplemental income, you can lose a lot of that like fun because it becomes work.
Mhm.
And is that something that you've had to experience, or have you had phases with that, or have you always kind of found it fun and it's kind of that balance between fun and passion?
I think I had a couple phases, and I think that that was when I was at like my peak of, oh boy, I'm like super stressed out. I think it
Yeah.
was, I was working 40 plus hours a week and I loved my job. But, I was really passionate about my HR job. I loved who I worked with. I wanted to make sure I was doing a really good job there. I didn't want anything to interfere with that,
Hmm.
including because that was my number one priority. But then once the boutique started doing well, and that's obviously my number one passion, not priority, but passion. I was like, gosh, this is really stressful. Like I wasn't enjoying it. I was kind of like, oh, now I have to go get some more inventory, or I have to go, and then I started to realize I'm like, you're not liking this anymore. And it's because
Right.
you're playing full. So that's when I promised myself when I started that the second I started to feel overwhelmed consecutively every single day was the time that something needed to change. So
Mm.
it came a lot sooner than I anticipated. Like I said, I thought it'd be 3 years at least, but I had just it wasn't my normal happy go lucky self. I was just very stressed every single
Yeah.
of the day was playing. I had no free time, had to miss out on things. Like this isn't a life that I want to be living. So that's kind of what drove me to putting my notice in at my work. And then after I left, I obviously missed the job and the people so much. They were amazing to work with. But the stress that got lifted off my shoulders was like, holy cow, I can breathe again. And that's now put the fun and the passion back into what I'm doing because I enjoy it. And it's not like anything else is distracting me from it. So that's kind of the lesson I learned with it and the phase I went through with when it did kind of become a chore versus fun.
That makes sense. I mean, I think that it's nice to hear that it wasn't really the boutique or what you were doing with the passion that was kind of burning you
Mhm.
out. It was just kind of like the overload of so
Yeah.
many competing things at once and so many responsibilities and just like that kind of lack of time and balance. I think that that's obviously not good, but I mean, it's better than like, oh, I hate the boutique. I don't want to do it anymore. It was just like, I really want to do it. It's just, I feel so burnt out because I have so many different things that I have to focus on.
My number one advice to anybody
Yeah.
is do not burn yourself out. Like the hustle culture is so trendy and people want to hustle, time to rise and grind. Like, no, you don't have to do that. I understand you have to work hard to get places, but if you are constantly just running on E, you need to make it so you can put your 100% into what you're doing. Because I was giving the boutique maybe at most 25% of my energy. And I said, it's not working. You have to know yourself and how much you can take and how many things you can do at a time. And if you're just constantly feeling overloaded, really evaluate what you're doing and evaluate, can I make this work a different way? Can I give something up? Because it's just so important. It's not healthy. It's not healthy for your mental health, your physical health. It's just not. So my biggest advice to people, and I've told so many people this after I made the decision of like, if you're not happy and you are constantly tired and emotional and just not yourself, look in the mirror, look at what you're doing, look at your plate. What can you take off of it? Because you just have way too much going on.
I love that. I mean, I think that that's incredible advice. And I mean, to anyone listening, please rewind that and listen to that a couple times. But no, it's so important. And I think that like even I've noticed for me, like I feel like 20. like 2018 to 2020, I was a really big with that like hustle culture. Like that's like all that I saw on social media. That's all I heard about. I got really big into this like entrepreneur named Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, and like he's pretty much like sleep 3 hours a day, like wake up at 4 a.m. and like hustle until like midnight, don't take a vacation for like 25 years. You're just like this crazy electric entrepreneur, which obviously he's
Yeah.
super successful and it's great, but that's kind of like the mindset that I adopted. And then as I kind of got older, I was like, you burn yourself out through that, and
Yeah.
it's just not worth it in the end. And I mean, I will go on the record and say that that was the biggest issue for me when I was working with Kohl's, fresh out of college. Like I was never at a store that was, successful to company standards. And it just made for me working 50, 60-hour weeks, and I was just miserable. And my mental health, my physical health was just so declined. And it was one of those things where like I was so afraid, like this is my first job out of college, this is my first job as an adult. Like the fear of letting honestly letting others down more than letting myself down was really what like made me just burn myself out over and over again until I got to the point where I was like, I can't do this. And it's one of those things where I think we all will probably experience that burnout, unfortunately, at one point to kind of realize the importance of it. But if you can kind of get ahead of it, like Ashlyn was saying, it's super important and can be beneficial.
Oh yeah, super beneficial. Just know yourself, know what
Yeah.
you can take. Like you said, it's the comparison of, well, they're doing it, or I don't want to let this person down.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, some advice that I got from a friend when I was really contemplating this decision of, do I leave my job? Because like again, like
Mhm.
I've said over, loved my last job, loved what I did. I felt like I was helping the company a lot, and I was really doing great things, and the company was going in a good direction. And I was scared to like let them down, right? Like you said,
Yeah.
you hit it on. I don't want to leave because I'm way too scared. I don't want to like leave them. I feel bad.
Mhm.
That in the eyes, and she was like, that's a terrible point. No one is going to take care of you like you're going to take care of yourself. You're
Yeah.
replaced. I was like, dang, you're right.
Yeah.
That my company wanted to push me out the door, but everyone in any kind of setting, you can be replaced. And so if
Mhm.
you're not happy, your mental health isn't good, your physical health isn't good, think of that statement, and no one is going to take care of you like you take care of yourself. So that's what really like flipped my switch. And the next day I literally decided I was going to leave my job, because I said, that just like stuck with me and I could not get out of my head. I'm like, she is so right. So right. And I just,
Yeah.
that's it for me.
Yeah. I mean, that's really powerful. And I think that it's funny because we don't want to admit that or believe it, but
No.
it's so true. I mean, that's just the reality. And I wouldn't say it's necessarily wrong, like business is business, but for whatever reason, like we just don't want to believe that a company would ever do that or that a business would ever do that. And I think that it does, like it really creates that fear of like letting them down or letting like expectations down. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's really good advice.
Yeah. She kicked my butt with it. I was like, oh, okay.
I love that though. And obviously it's, like you said, you miss your job and the people you worked with and everything, but it sounds like it's definitely worked out and,
Yeah.
and been a good kind of new chapter for you.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And like you were also saying kind of before that point about like the comparison piece, that's another big thing. I mean, like you might, go on social media and see someone else with a boutique that they've been doing it for 3 years. And it's like you can't, compare yourself where you're at now to where they're at now, because it's, the journey's different and the path to get there is different. So, I think that
That's
that's
so true.
yeah.
That, and I've been 100%, 1000% guilty of that. I follow all these giant boutiques, like, I don't know, thousands, millions of followers on social media. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they are selling so much and I can't even sell two of them, like you just sit there and you just beat yourself up and you're like, okay, like you need to just take a reality check here, stop having a pity party, because guess what? They have been in business a lot longer than you. You just can't compare.
Right.
No matter what, nothing is sliced the same. Everyone's journey is different. Everyone's life is different. People have different connections, different ways of making it. You
Mhm.
can't compare because it's never going to equal up. Nothing's ever going to be the same. And so that's a huge lesson I had to learn too, because I kind of went through well, I'm not doing as good as them, or maybe I need to be doing this, or they're doing this. And no, like you need to be authentically yourself. And that's something that I think has really helped my business is, I'll get ideas from people. They'll say, oh, you should do this because this business does this, or you should do this because this business does this. And I love getting those ideas. I love it.
Yeah.
But is run with every single one of them, because it's maybe just not something that I authentically want to do. If I don't believe not something that I want to stand behind, I might not do it just because I want to be myself. I don't want to be some other boutique with my name. So that's I really struggled with at the beginning of like, what is my identity? Who is A to Z Boutique? What do I want to stand for? But once you kind of figure it out, it's very easy to navigate and push towards similar things that you actually wholeheartedly believe in, because otherwise you're just copying someone else in a nutshell.
Yeah. And then we just have chain retail, right? We just have kind of that brick and mortar like chain retail. So I think that's huge. And, I think something that I've always been a big believer in is exactly what you're saying of like, take in, suggestions from others, take in, maybe research that you've done or things that you've seen other companies or people do that you like, but you don't have to just completely do it, blindly. Like, oh, I like that this boutique has this, but I don't like, I would change this about it to make it more what I'm about. So like make that change. Like it's not, you don't have to take exactly everything that you see. You can take little pieces from different sources of inspiration.
Yeah. I love it.
Awesome. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you about is I can't remember when it was now, a few months ago, I would say.
I have to move myself because I have to plug myself in. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. You had the opportunity to kind of be like featured and to be a part of the Detroit Pistons kind of like small local business event, or I don't know what to call it, or like, can you just talk a little bit about that experience and how that was for you?
Yeah. I actually got the opportunity to do 2 different events with the Pistons, which was awesome. So in December, I got featured as one of the Shopify small businesses of the game. So that was really exciting because I got a chance to bring my product to the Pistons, the Little Caesars Arena, and then kind of show it off, show what we had to sell. We got put up on the big Megatron up there in the middle of the arena. They did like a little special on us. They put us on all their socials. It was incredible. And the exposure was huge because on Shopify, for anyone listening that maybe uses Shopify or ZAP, I don't know if you use it at all. You can see when people are on your site. So as soon as they put me on that big screen, my Detroit area's coverage lit up. So it was super cool to see like getting all of that new business and seeing all the new customers that started following on socials and stuff like that. Just the exposure was everything. And my sister was a huge way of how I got that. I will not lie, because she works there. So they had like a whole pool of people that they put them in. And she's like, just apply and then I'll make sure that they pick yours. So again, who is everything, because they picked, I think, however many home games they have. So there was quite a few businesses that got picked. And a cool part though, that this is what really made me happy, because the other one, my sister helped get me in the door, which was great. And she's amazing. But they did women-owned businesses in March. And they actually reached out to my sister because they remembered my business so vividly that they wanted to feature me again as a small business in March. So that was pretty cool to think, I actually got that one on my own. It wasn't just a connection. It was hey, they remembered my business and they wanted to feature me again. So that was really cool. And then my sister actually works on the video editing team and stuff. And so she got to put that video together for me, which was
that's awesome.
Really sweet. It's on the boutique page if you follow it, but it was, she's a master at her job. That's for sure.
That's so cool. And I don't know if I told you, but I think I found out about this through the Pistons before I found out like from your socials and stuff. Like I was just scrolling one day and I was like, wait a minute.
You're like, wait, I know that person.
I was like, why do I know this person? And then I was like, oh my gosh. And then like I looked at your socials and like you're posting about it or something. I was like, wow.
That's so funny.
So it is awesome. And it's great that shout out to the Pistons for doing stuff like that with small businesses and also women-owned businesses. Definitely two huge places to give your focus and to support. So that was really cool that you could be a part of it. And it's awesome that you saw kind of that just like jump of like traffic on the site and engagement on social media and stuff with that. So definitely sounds like a really just memorable experience and something that was really cool to be a part of.
The exposure, I mean, alone, that's what I've been telling everyone. Anytime you can get an ounce of exposure, do it. I don't care if you think the event is going to be great, bad, ugly. Exposure is exposure, especially free exposure. If someone is asking you to be a part of an event, you say yes when you're a new business, because just that, like, I was kind of nervous. My sister's like, do it. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I just opened a month ago. I have no idea what I'm doing, because we were so new. That was December and we opened end of November. We weren't even open a month. And I was like, I don't know if this is a good idea. And it's just great to put yourself out there and do as many different things as you possibly can, because that's one more person that might hear about your business and tell their mom about your business, or their dad, or, whomever, whatever your business is. So do anything and everything that you can get your hands on.
So I know that with, kind of the initial event with the Pistons, you said your sister was, a big kind of driving force behind that. But do you have any advice or suggestions for people who, maybe don't have the connections, but are looking at getting into some events? Like, it doesn't have to be that big of a scale event, but just anything, like maybe even local events. Like, do you have any like tips or tricks that you would recommend?
Definitely putting yourself out there. So messaging people, I've done that before, where if like people wanted to come in for like a shop event or something, or like bring a group in, like message people, ask, like, hey, are you looking for a vendor? Or like, hey, if you're, just throw it out there too. Like, if you ever need a vendor for something, I'll be your person, and it could be something like in March, we went to a pig sale, and we're a vendor there. And you know what? I have never been to a pig sale in my entire life. My husband is a farmer, but a dairy farmer. So either way, I'm not a farmer, but married to that one. And I was like, a pig sale? But one of his friends, he's really big, pig breeder. That's like what he does. And so he was putting on this show. And he's like, hey, I'd love for you to be a vendor. And I was like, me? And apparently at all the shows or sales, they have like boutiques come and stuff, which I never know that, right? Because that's not an industry I've ever been around. And it was fantastic. It was lots of women that we would have never met otherwise. Maybe their husband is a breeder there, or they're buying something for their kid for a fair. We met them and they were, they love coming, looking at boutiques and stuff at those sales. And that was just something that was so funny to me. I'm like, wow, like who would have ever thought? And we did really well in sales that day. And it was just funny to think that it all started because I was like, sure, I'll go to a pig sale. And now I think we'll probably go every year, because he's probably going to do this every year and we'll be a vendor. But it's just putting yourself in those situations that you really don't know anything about.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a funny story. And just, I don't know, hearing something about like, oh yeah, he's a pig breeder. I don't know. That just makes me happy. I'm like, I never would have thought that was just like a career, but that's awesome. But yeah, I mean, just putting yourself out there, I think is huge. And like, I think that probably something that you've kind of just talked about a little bit by like messaging people, reaching out to people about kind of like collaborations or partnerships or working with them or events. It's something similar to like what I experienced with the podcast about like getting guests and stuff. And I think that, again, going back to that, like we don't get started on things because of how daunting it can be. I mean, I can say like I've faced a lot of rejection, and I'm sure you have, or like people just don't respond, and like it's not like they're rude or they don't care. It's just people are busy, or like they don't see the message or whatever. So that's another big thing to anyone listening. Like, don't be afraid to like hear no or to not hear back, because it's kind of just like applying for a job. You're not everything's going to work out, and that's not a reflection of them. It's not a reflection of you. It just wasn't meant to be, and that's okay.
Yeah, you're going to face rejection. I mean, if you got yes every time, that'd be way too easy.
Right.
But I mean, for every time you ask, you could get one yes. So it's just doing it. And most people are I just feel like people love the interest, because, then if you're looking at it from another business's perspective, they're thinking, okay, well then if this business posts on their socials that they're coming, that gives my business more advertising. So then they can technically be using you which is a win-win, right? They're getting someone to come, and we're spreading the word about their event. So a lot of times businesses are excited about it. It's just scary to go, hey, can I come set up at your event.
Right. And I think that the thing that I love about what you just said is that, like, I think when you're just starting, or even for you with your boutique being still within like the first year, you might have that feeling where you're like, well, what do I have to offer to, like,
Mhm.
this person that I'm reaching out to, or this like company that I'm reaching out to? Like, yeah, I guess it could be mutually beneficial, like you just said, but like, I'm a no one, like, who's gonna care? But I think that's like one of those things that, like, we need to get away from that thought, because it's like we just provide value on who we are and what we can bring, and our
Yeah.
connections, and like what we've established. So like, even if you're early on something, like, don't think that that means you can't, mutually benefit another, individual or another company or something, because there's more. Just starting a business, or starting like, you know a podcast, or starting a Instagram account or YouTube channel, whatever, just by doing that alone, like, you're kind of setting yourself apart from the rest of, like, people, if you will, by pursuing
Yeah.
something you're passionate about.
Yeah. It's a lot easier to talk the talk, but to actually do it is
Hmm.
something totally different. And I just think it's so easy for us to like pick ourselves apart and be like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, this is never going to work, or 1,000 reasons why we shouldn't do it, or, it could fail, blah, blah, blah. But to just step out and do it, like if you go
Yeah.
into it knowing like, hey, they might tell me no, this might be a total waste of my time. But what if you create a connection that you never expected to create?
Hmm.
And now you are miles ahead of where you were yesterday. It's just taking that leap. And it's so easy for me to sit
Yeah.
here and say it, right? But I'm just as scared as everyone else when it comes to
Hmm.
putting yourself out there. And when I showed up to Atlanta to buy my first round of clothes, I was like, I need to get out of here. This was
Yeah.
the worst idea ever. Because you're with all these boutique owners, thousands of them that have done this
Yeah.
for years. But you just have to remember, everybody started like you did. And the
Right.
second that I got that out of my head and was just like, I'm not going to be embarrassed to be my first time here. I'm not going to be timid
Hmm.
to ask any questions because I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm doing. You just have to get that out of your head. And everyone was so excited that I was new. They were like, oh my gosh, welcome. Like, we're so happy
Yeah.
you're here. But before I walked in with oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing.
Hmm.
Everyone else knows what they're doing. I'm the person that looks so just lame over here doing nothing. The second you get that out of your head, no one else is thinking that, because everyone else
Yeah.
started exactly where you are. And it's just, we're beating ourselves up at that point,
Hmm.
and it's so easy to do, but you just got to get over that. And once you do, smooth sailing, I swear.
Yeah, I love that. I think that that's huge. And, just another piece on the connections that just came to mind is, like, even if you reach out and, there is that, like, no, or like, sorry, not at this time, that doesn't mean that there can't be, some opportunity in the future, or even just
Mhm.
like you're meeting someone in a similar or the same space as you, that could lead to just like, a relationship that builds. And, even if it's just like, hey, like, I'm kind of struggling with this part of the business, like, have you experienced this, or what would you do? Or even just like, I've had moments where, you reach out to someone, maybe things don't work out, but then they're like, hey, like, I actually have this connection who really would be a good person for you to meet. And then it's like, it's just kind of building that network. And like,
Yeah.
just when you are that kind of small business, or, whatever, like, just platform, when you expand your kind of reach a little bit, you just kind of get more exposure and opportunities to grow, and just to meet new people with similar interests and passions.
Networking is everything. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
definitely. So I am curious, on the topic of fashion. So
Yeah.
I have to ask, like, what's one trend that you love that maybe is like not super mainstream, or people are like, ah, that's kind of a weird trend? And what's one trend that's like super mainstream that you just aren't a fan of?
Ooh, that's a good one. I personally really love the leather trend that's happening.
Okay.
Give me something leather. I don't care if it's a jacket. I don't care if it's pants. I don't care what it is. I am all about it. I know it's on the outs. I know it's probably got like one last leg here to go because it's
Yeah.
been a couple of years, but I love it.
Okay.
One that I don't like the bathing suit tops. Like, why are we wearing crop tops that are literally that small? I don't understand.
Okay.
That's something that I cannot get behind. I'm like, I feel like I'm going to the pool. You will notice my stuff. We have crops, but they're like, the ones that have like an inch. I
Yeah.
can't get behind the like ones that literally look like a bathing suit top.
Okay.
But also that could be my old age now too, because I'm like, I don't know if I ever would have wore it. But yeah, the leather is it for me. And I know she's on her way out pretty soon, but gosh, I
Okay.
love it. The 90s style,
Yeah.
love it so
Okay.
much. Hmm.
Okay. And now that brings up another interesting question is like, obviously I haven't, lived super long, and neither of you, but like we can kind of see like how trends have changed throughout, or like things that were maybe popular in like the 80s or like just the 90s, like they were popular then they disappeared, now they're coming back. Like,
Hmm.
is there something that you think is like going to come back in the next few years that was maybe really popular when we were kids, or even before that? Like, do you kind of feel do you have
Yes.
a good feel for the trend, like future?
Like the 2000s trends are slowly creeping back in. And
Okay.
I'm like, no, we're not bringing back low rise jeans. We are not doing that. And it's everything that once was comes back around in the fashion. It's a tale as old as time. It happens every
Okay.
single year. And right now we're reliving the 90s. And guess what's next? The early 2000s. So it comes, like it comes right in order. It's like
Okay.
clockwork, honestly. And I've already seen, like boot cut, for example. When we were younger, boot cut was
Yeah.
everything. Yes, boot
Yep.
cut is coming back. All of the like, remember those like, I don't know. I know you didn't shop girls fashion, but those little tiny like pink film sunglasses that
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
all you
Yeah.
lifted to. Yeah, those are
Yeah.
back. Like you're slowly starting to see all of that
Jeez.
fashion come. I'm like, I don't know whether to love it or hate it. But the low rise jeans, no, that's a no.
Okay.
Nobody needs to see that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. It's weird just thinking back of like, even just like looking back at pictures from like growing up, you're like, why were people wearing like what they wore?
Yeah,
And then like you slowly start to see like it coming back, and you're like, all right, I guess like I
now
shouldn't
it's
have
cool
gotten rid
again.
of that, like because it was super trendy now. But okay.
Yep, it
Awesome.
always comes back. It's crazy.
It is. So one of the last things that I wanted to ask you, like on this kind of topic of just fashion and style, is, it's obviously something that you're passionate about, and I think I would say that I enjoy it, significantly enough, whether I know much about it or not. But if someone's listening and like maybe it's something that they're interested in kind of like exploring or like getting more familiar with it or elevating their own fashion or style, like is there any advice that you have to someone who maybe is a little newer to the space?
Yeah. Um, the thing I love about fashion is you can literally be a different character every other day. So, someone like myself, I don't really have a set style. Like one day I'll look like the preppy girl from school, and then the next day I'll have street style on. So it's like it doesn't make any sense, and I love that. Like I don't have to
Yeah.
be in a box. I can do literally whatever I want every single day. And advice to someone who's kind of starting to like branch into it is like, as long as you're confident in what you're wearing and like what you're wearing, it doesn't matter what other people have to say, because
Yeah.
fashion is a game of I like this, but this person doesn't like it. It doesn't matter. If you like it, wear it, because no one is ever going to love everything you wear. And that's okay. You just have
Yeah.
to love it. You have to feel comfortable. And if you're doing it to intimidate someone, but you don't, or I'm sorry, copy someone, but don't actually like it, you're not going to totally really be doing fashion right. You need to do what you want to wear. And I think so
Hmm.
many times get caught up in the trends and are like, oh, well,
Yeah.
this person, this, I'm going to wear this. But like, what is your style? Like, what do
Yeah.
you want to? Sometimes I come out with some crazy outfits, but I like it. So it's just be who you want to be, and you can change that every single day, which is why fashion is awesome.
I love that. I think that's a great piece of advice. And, I get when there's the people that say stuff like, I wear like a black t-shirt, every day or something, um, to have that like decision fatigue, like not kick in or whatever, where it's like, it just one less thing you have to worry about if you're not like super present with your fashion. But to me, it's a way to express yourself. It's a way to, you know, have fun and stuff. So don't feel like you have to limit yourself with it, and do what feels right for you and feels good to you. Like you said, it doesn't matter what other people think. I mean, I know certainly growing up, like I remember in like middle school, like American Eagle was like huge. So it's like, oh, I need to wear like the American Eagle like graphic
Yeah.
t-shirt or whatever. And it's like, did I ever like those? No. Did I ever want
No,
them? Not really, but I thought
not
that was like the thing. So
cool.
Yeah. So just be you and express yourself the way that you feel comfortable. And I think that's, at the end of the day, that's the cool thing about fashion. Like you said, you can be a different character every day, and you don't have to
Mm.
be, set in a specific box and have parameters.
Yeah, I love it. Love
Awesome.
it.
So, Ashlyn, we talked about kind of everything you're doing, and with the boutique and everything. So, to anyone listening who maybe is in the area or nearby and wants to stop by, or that wants to look at your online store, what's like the best way to keep up with the boutique, keep up with you? Do you have like a website that you'd prefer to put out there, or social media? What's like the best way to keep up with things?
I post everything on both socials, so you can
Okay.
find us on Facebook. We're just simply A to Z boutique. And then on Instagram, I'm pretty sure our handle is simply under A to Z underscore boutique.
Okay.
So, or you could just type in simply A to Z boutique and you can find us. And then our website is simply A to Z boutique.com. So all very
Perfect.
easy. And then our website is linked on both of our socials too. So if you'd rather find us on socials first and go there. But yeah, I post daily on there. I always post when we have new arrivals. We have new arrivals weekly, which is really fun because then it's always something
Yeah.
new to look, which I love that. So it's not the same old stuff you saw last week.
Okay. And with the new arrivals weekly, you said you post about those. Is there like every Friday is like the day you post about it? Does it just depend on the week, or?
Kind of depends on the week right now. I'm
Okay.
trying to get like a set schedule on that, but right now it's just kind of like whenever they finally show up from UPS, we're posting them.
Perfect. And then again, to reiterate everything, like while you do have a storefront, you do sell it online as well. So even if you're not in
Yes.
Michigan, or
Mhm.
you don't want to go to the thumb, you can still, check things out. And is it is your shipping just in the US, or do you ship internationally?
Just domestic right now. Yeah.
Just domestic. Okay. Okay. So
Mhm.
if you're in the US but not in Michigan, definitely check out
Yes.
the website. Or if you're in Canada and just want to check out the website and see what's to
Yeah.
come, there you go. But
Perfect.
all of the boutique socials and the website, I will also put in the description of the episode. So if you didn't catch it, or if it's just easier, feel free to go down there, click around there, and check it out. And then on like your socials, Ashlyn, like if people have questions or anything, like are you pretty active with like messages, or is there like an email to email with questions, or I guess what's like the best way for customer interaction?
Oh, either or. I'll answer
Okay.
you on either socials. You can DM me or you can email. There's a boutique email on the site that you can send a message to as well. Either or, I will get back to you for sure.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, then like Ashlyn said, if you have any questions, or if there's just something really cool that you like, or you listen to this conversation and you want to tell Ashlyn something that you enjoyed about our conversation, let her know via messages. I'm sure she'll love to hear from you and get right back to you on those. But yeah, it's been great to talk to you, and just to see the journey that you've been on since the time that we've met to now. And I'm excited for your future and to see everything that you accomplish.
Thank you so much, Zach. Thanks for
Yeah,
asking me to be on this. I'm
of
excited and
course.
excited for you that you're doing this. How awesome. You have a
Thank you.
podcast. That's crazy.
I appreciate it. And see, like I say the same thing about you. Like you have a business, you have a storefront, like you have a boutique. How awesome! So it's cool to see,
Good stuff.
people doing what they love, and that's certainly what we're here to talk about. So thank you for sharing everything. And I guess, is there any last like thoughts, words, message, or anything that you want to give to anyone listening?
No, I mean, I feel like we covered it. Biggest thing is if you're thinking about doing it, do it. Life's too short.
I love it. That's a perfect way to end it. Awesome. Well, thank you, Ashlyn. I appreciate your time, and I'm sure we'll be talking soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Zach.
Yep. Bye.